Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us today for part 2 of the State of the World Searcherdemic Summit 2022. My name is Professor Michael P. Pitzel, and I'm Chancellor of United Graduate College and Seminary International, and I'm also the founder of Searcherdemics. This is an annual report of the evidence and results of God's education system from professionals across the globe. Today, we have speakers from Nigeria, South Africa, and Trinidad and Tobago, so stay tuned. So I said earlier, God's education system. That is a bold statement, I understand. But hear this. Put simply, Searcherdemics is the education of you, from the God capacity in you. It is redefining opportunity for every single person on the earth, as you will find out today, as you will hear today. So Searcherdemics is an education that reforms rather than conforms, because there is no algorithm for your uniqueness. So Searcherdemics, let's get started, because I don't want to just talk theory. I want you to hear today, and I want you to see the results. And I have two co-hosts with me today. I'm going to start with Professor Green. Now, here we go. Hi.
Hello. Glad to be here.
Professor Green is a professor. He's a doctor of Searcherdemics. He's also the vice chancellor of United Graduate College and Seminary International.
Yes.
And he is one of the founders of Step Forward Life Institute, which is an affiliate with UGCSI,
Yes.
and also practices Searcherdemics.
Yes, we do. It's a pleasure to be here. Our honor. Thank you, Chancellor Michael.
Absolutely. And then I have His Royal Highness Sir Clyde Rivers, who is the father of civility, of world civility, and who practices Searcherdemics in his everyday life to bring life to people. And he is the founder and creator of I Change Nations, and he is Chief Chancellor of United Graduate College and Seminary International. And it is an honor to have him here today, because if you can get this gentleman to come to your event, it is a great honor. He's a very busy man all over the world. So thank you for being here today.
Thank you so much. I'm humbled.
And Your Royal Highness, will you add anything you want about Searcherdemics and then introduce our first professional who will be our evidence and results today?
Yes. Ms. Chancellor, thank you for having the boldness to actually step out with God's education. You know, at the end of the day, the education that's from God to us and from us to the world is the only thing that matters. So to have an education system that helps people discover who God made them to be and what their contribution is, this is the education that furthers the world. You know, if you don't mind me sharing a story, I actually graduated with a bachelor's degree about 40 years ago. The information from that 40 years ago is now obsolete. There is no operating system that actually uses the same skills that I used 40 years ago. So but see, what is consistent is the gift in me that encouraged people, that motivated people, that built people is the same, but it's grown and it's enhanced. So what I want to say here is what I love about Searcherdemics is the education of who I am has always been there. And I'm still doing the same thing I was 40 years ago, but it's changed scoped. Now, the education I got from actually formal education, there are no longer typewriters. There's no longer whiteout. There's no longer microfiche at the libraries. So what I want to speak that to actually say this, that education is now obsolete, but the education of me is never obsolete. And that's why I love Searcherdemic so much, because the education of me lives on because God created me for eternity. Yes. So thank you so much. And then I'll go into I'm sorry. Go ahead, Chancellor.
I just said, well said.
Thanks. And hey, our first professional educator is a vice chancellor. Now watch this. We believe at UGCSI, we believe your actual skills and your actual mind and what you produce, and you can actually put into a literate terminology and practice. That's the education that lives for eternity. And this great vice chancellor is a young man that has evidence and results. And he's established an international publishing company. And he's actually publishing books for people all over the world. He's created an actual youth matrix. But isn't this amazing, chancellors both? Isn't it amazing that there's no education for young people?
Right.
In the world, and young people are 100% of the future. So what I love about this Action Man professional is he's created Youth Matrix, which is an education to empower young people. Just imagine this: what if young people had a chance to find their gifting at 5 years old and were nurtured along the way? Where would they be today? So this is a great world leader. He's an actual musician, but what's this here? He's an artist. He's everything. But his most important thing is he is a Searcherdemican, and he's created Youth Matrix that will outlive. One day, as great as he is, his songs will get old. One day, everything, but what he's creating, Searcherdemically, will live forever. Youth Matrix. Ladies and gentlemen, Professor, Vice Chancellor, Dr. Sam Ibube from Lagos, Nigeria. My friend, good to have you in.
Oh, welcome, Professor.
So good.
Wow.
Wow, thank you so much. Thank you so much, Your Royal Highness. I celebrate you, and forever I am grateful to God for the amazing opportunities that you continue to open me up to all across the world. And I want to say thank you so much for always having me on international stages all across the world. And I promise to always use this to always help other young people all across the world to be a better version that God has created them to be in this destructive times. Thank you so much, Your Highness, once again. And I want to say, Chancellor Michael Piptil, thank you so much. You are such an amazing leader that I always write about in my leadership book. You are indeed a great leader, and I want to celebrate you for that. And Professor Chris Green, you're such an amazing leader that forever I'm grateful, because my first time ever speaking with you was during my professorship course, and it was such an amazing time. We ended up with such an atmosphere that has always encouraged me to always do more. Thank you so much for being awesome, sir. Thank you so much.
Thank you. You know, you have such a heart and a passion for youth, Professor, and that is really your niche. You do all of these things, but your Searcherdemic niche really is youth and that youth matrix. Can you explain to us what youth matrix is?
Wow, thank you so much. Yeah, I would like to start with Youth Matrix itself is an institute that focuses on a winning culture of leadership and life skills. Now, we have two most important narratives in one box for the young people. Now, leadership, myself and Chancellor Michael Putze, we were together in Ghana a couple of months ago, and while we were having the time to speak with the students of Abim Institute, the young people said something. And we both realized, I think Professor Michael Pifty said something. He said, now I realize what Sam has been saying. And I remembered we had a conference where His Royal Highness spoke to the people of Ghana, and he said something. He said, now I realize that the problem of Africans is leadership, fixed leadership, and the Africans is going to be the top in the world in terms of governance. So now when we look at everything around Africa, we always look at Africa as one of the continents behind the scene because of one factor, which is lack of leadership. Yeah, I've always heard this saying that says that everything in life falls back to leadership. And Jesus Christ came to change the narrative, because before now we've already had the authoritarian leadership rule of the royal empires in the past, from the Egyptians, till date. So it looks like we have this pharaoh kind of leadership, and it has been there. Now, what are we doing as young emerging leaders? What are we really doing to change the narrative, because so much is actually on us right now. And I felt that this is just the best time, this is the right time to change the mindset of the young people in terms of leadership and life skills. Now, when you look at I Change Nations, in commemoration with United Nations, you'll see that the statistics of the young people that dies to the pandemic of suicide is on the high increase. That is where the life skills come in. When you hear this, mental health matters. Mental health matters. It's one of the norms of the order of the day right now that we have all across the world. What do we mean by mental health? Do people really have what it takes to be healthy in terms of their mindset? So these are some of those things that Youth Metrics Institute is addressing all across the world. It's, in short, in a one word, it's a mindset shift for young people, aspiring leaders and emerging leaders in leadership and in life in general. Thank you so much.
Wow. Thank you.
Thank you.
Chris.
My goodness.
I'm sorry, Chris, go ahead.
That's just, you always blow me away with the insight that God has given you, especially when it comes to working with youth. Ever since you moved into the professorship role, the searcher educator role, what new developments or what new ideas have you discovered over the past year? What really began to kind of take off for you as you really implemented your Searcherdemic philosophy with this new understanding that God has given you something, and this can impact not only your country but the world? What have you really discovered about yourself and your philosophy since it?
Wow, thank you so much. First thing is that I've been able to discover that there is so much more sitting inside of me that the world is waiting for. So with this vice chancellorship and this professorship, it has opened me to so much opportunities across the world. Now, the young people all across the world are looking for the right voice to listen to. But I tell people, who are those voices that the world is listening to? Is it those voices that did not pass through their stages of life? Is it these people that has not successfully gone through their process of stillness? They have nothing to offer this emerging generation. But we need young people that has gone through the stages of life, that has been able to produce evidence and results over time, and that has collectively built a strong and lasting legacy that will help the next generation be who God has prescribed them to be in life. So I've been able to create my first book under the professorship with UGCSI. I've been able to produce this book titled When Your Mind is Sick. And right now, this book is all around the globe. And right now, we're about to launch the audio version of this book. And we hope to transcribe this book into different languages. Spanish, we've had requests to make it available in Spanish and in other languages. In fact, even in Kenya right now. So right now, what we're doing is that in collaboration with UGCSI and Youth Metrics, we've come to realize that the mind is the most powerful tool. And when Jesus Christ was here on earth, he focuses more on not just changing the people, but changing the mind. So everything Jesus Christ focused on was on the mind. He said, they asked him several questions. Oh, have you come to be the king of Jews? He said, no, that is none of my mission here. My main mission is to ensure that I empower your mind the way you think and have you think the right way, to have you think the way God thinks. And this is one of the most education that is required right now. And thank you so much, UGCSI team and board of directors, for appointing me as the Vice Chancellor for Youth Studies. I'm so honored. And this is just a first step to show. It's titled When Your Mind is Sick. And in there, I have mind your thoughts, master your life, and grow from meager to mega. How have I been able to grow from that mega to mega today? Everyone across the world sees Sam Ebube, the one who started as a musician. Now he is now the CEO of YPN, that is youth published now, and he is also the vice chancellor. He has his own new narrative that is helping young people in leadership and life skills with Youth Metrics Institute. Yeah, all this is what I've been able to provide young people with, that will help them to actually think right in all they do. Thank you,
Wow.
Professor.
Wow.
That is amazing.
So, Sam, I have a question for you. You have walked into a #1 mindset as a young person on the continent of Africa. Normally, young people are not allowed in those positions because the old institutions are predicated on how long you've been in. What has been your greatest challenge with that area, and how have you overcome?
Yeah, thank you so much, Your Highness. I always tell young people all across the world that always surround yourself with the right mind. When you surround yourself with people with the right mind, your journey becomes so easy to walk through. So walking through the path of life requires having the right people that has been preordained and predestined of God for your life. So I'm so grateful. I always say this, and I'm saying this again, and I'll continue to say it over and over again. I am so grateful to God always for how He connected me with His Royal Highness. You know, I remember one of my last trip with His Royal Highness. Someone from United States asked me, said, "Sam, it seems as if you've known His Royal Highness for 20 years." I said, "No, he's just 2 years. This is 2020." And so meeting His Royal Highness in 2020 actually was a mindset shift, was a life-changing experience for me. And right now, it's not just for me alone, for every other young people all across the world. I speak with young people from different nations of the world almost every day. This is because God has really attuned me. God has really provided me with the right mind. That is in person of His Royal Highness, King Dr. Clyde Rivers. And thank you so much, Your Royal Highness. The answer to your question is because I've been able to surround myself, not just intentionally, by the mysterious hand of God. I've been positioned for such a time as this with the right people all across the world. You can imagine Youth Published Now is one of the fastest in Africa growing publishing company right now in the world. I've been able to work with people from all over the continents, Europe, America, Asia, Africa, and all. Now, this is one thing that I want to leave with every young people. You see, when you are placed in a position, always live your best. There is so much more that is needed of you to help other people. If you fail yourself, you are failing other people and you are failing a whole generation. Thank you so much, Your Royal Highness, for having me on these stages where I'm able to show the world, to change the narrative, to change how Africans are being perceived. I've heard someone said something the other day to me. It said, "Sam, you are different." I think it was Rene. She said, "Sam, you are different from the way we have perceived the Africans." So God is really entrusting young people in these last days to be the new faces, to be the new voice, to just change the way Africans has already been perceived by the Westerners. So I think that is what God is really using me to do right now, and I'm looking forward to doing more and to also impart this generation with some of those amazing things that I've learned under His leadership, His Royal Highness, Sir Clyde Rivers.
Wow. You know, Professor Sam, I've seen the evidence and results. You text me and message me and send me the evidence of saving lives one at a time. And you know, you're so right about surrounding yourself with the right minds, but you have been faithful to do the work. And that's why you were ready when the right people came. And that's what Searcherdemics is all about. And I was just talking with Professor Green about this. Yeah. When we meet people, they think, "Oh, how do I do this?" And we say, "Look back, you've already done it."
Wow.
You have been working, you've been doing so that when you met the right people, you had something to give. You were faithful with little. That's why you have mega now.
Wow, wow, wow.
You have gone far at a young age because you've been working at this your whole life, and you've been faithful, and you haven't veered. You haven't gone here and here and here and here and here. You've stayed focused, and that's key to what you're doing and your success.
Wow.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Chancellor Michael Pipti. Thank you so much. And I would just like to add this. And I think one thing that has really helped me in the course of this is because in 2020, I was able to create Stay Alive Civility, not just by myself, but by His Royal Highness. You know, I always mention his name because he is indeed a true mentor. When I shared this idea with him that a lot is happening right now across the world, we have the figures of suicide. Over 80,000, over 800,000 people dies to the pandemic of suicide. So in 2020, the figure increased. And I told His Royal Highness, I have this idea of helping young people and even the old people to navigate through tough times. And he said to me, he said, Sam, this is the best time for you to start. Now, I was able to start. I started Stay Alive with, now we've been able to produce 4 books. The fourth edition of the book is Not Alone, with just young people. Now will be released next month in September and September and October, because September is World Suicide Prevention and Awareness Month, and October is World Mental Health Month. So these 2 months we'll be using these 2 months to use our life skills, to use our best practices, our grand strategies to help other young people across the world. This has really helped other young people, like what Chancellor Michael Pipti said the other time. She made mention of a lady called Helen Orokpo. I had Helen Orokpo on our last year, the 3rd edition of the Stay Alive Global Summit, where I had Helen. She was there to share her story of how Stay Alive helped her to stay alive purposefully in such a time as this.
Oh my goodness. How do people learn more about you? How do we get a hold of you? How do we learn more about you?
Yeah, for everyone that wants to learn more about me, I think the social space is available. You can check at www.samebube.org. And you can actually check Youth Metrics Institute on website. So our website is youthmetricsinstitute.org. And also you can check me on social media, Professor Sam Ebube, PSALMEBU, or mailsamebube@gmail.com. Thank you so much.
Wow, what an honor. See, people, I told you, this is not just theory. People are out there moving this, doing it, speaking live. So, Professor Sam, it is such an honor to have you here. Thank you. You're a busy man. So we were going to let you go and talk to you soon, sir.
Sure.
Thank you. I celebrate you all. Thank you.
Great man.
We have the best job in the world.
And you know what? What I love about this, Chancellor Michael, is some institutions wouldn't let him in because of his age.
Exactly.
But his wisdom, the mind's there, the information, the evidence, he's walked it out. Vice Chancellor Green, you know, this is what's hard. And this is what I love about you as a Vice Chancellor and our Chancellor Michael. You actually give young people like Matthias, like Psalm, like the Redders, like Rose. We give these people a chance to really shine. And let me tell you, at the end of the day, God's gifting for you is what will keep you alive.
Yes.
There's nothing else.
Yeah.
So I thank the both of you.
Wonderful. Thank you too, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Well, we have more. We have from South Africa. I'm going to introduce Professor Dr. Shakuntolo Rose Reddy. She's from South Africa. She is a searcher professor with us here at UGCSI. She is one of 3 candidates to be conferred with a Doctor of Searcherdemics in the whole world. Oh, she is the Africa Civility Educator of the Year 2021 because of her work with Civility One children. And she is the founder of the Rose Kindness Foundation, which is a sanctuary for abused women and children, unwed mothers, the homeless, drug and alcohol addicts. So just to name a few things that she's doing. Welcome, Professor Rose. How are you this evening? It's evening for you there.
Greetings to everybody. It's evening for me. Yes, it's good day. Greetings to Royal Highness, Sir Clyde
Thank you.
Rivers, Professor Michael Pitzel, Professor Chris Green. It's an honor and privilege to be here on this platform this evening. And I just want to say thank you to God for you in my life, because you have been mentors that have guided and really held my hand and led me through this way. And at this point, I also want to say thank you to Professor Donna, because she was very instrumental in having to lead me through
Great
and
lady.
Yes.
having to come to this point where I could now be called a searcherdemician. So it's just glory to God, and God has been busy.
Amen.
So
So
this
tell us
evening, I
about.
just want to share
Oh,
with
sorry.
you my narrative, which is kindness, a building block of civility, and it is basically what I have been doing for the past few years. And I'm going to begin with asking, what is kindness? It is one of the nine fruits of spirit and is becomes visible in our lives when we have Holy Spirit living inside of us. And we all know that fruit nourishes people,
Mm,
and the fruit of the spirit nourish the spiritual person in us. And I must say, we need to go forth and feed the spiritual man, because hungry people become angry people,
mm,
but satiated people become happy people. So if we want to have happy people around, we need to feed them with the fruit of the spirit. So let us go
true.
forth and feed hungry. And in so doing, we will remove us of the flesh. Because if you look around, that is superseding the fruit of the spirit in the world, and all the negative effects are creating problems and challenges with the world. And I must say, kindness is an integral part of bringing humanity back to its God
Mm,
given purpose of living a full and accepted life of civility. And I just want to quote Aristotle, who said, kindness towards someone in need is not in return for anything, not for the advantage of the helper himself, but for the people that are helped. But I must say, Michael Card's definition raised the bar to that one, and he said, kindness is when a person, from I have the right to expect nothing, gives me everything. So we need to go forth and speak this universal language of kindness, which the blind can see and the deaf can hear. Because by introducing kindness, it produces a safe and respectable, productive society. It has physical benefits too, which are basically it lowers blood pressure, reduces pain, anxiety,
true.
makes people happy and optimistic.
Yes.
We
Wow.
talked. I want to ask, what is civility part of my narrative? It's basically being polite and courteous in our speech and in our behavior. And for me, it is having to introduce a culture of kindness, which will open doors of opportunity to the unloved, the rejected, and the abused to be
Mm,
accepted and embraced into society.
Mm.
These are little actions and behaviors that will lead to positive working relationships and respect for others and the environment.
wow.
And when we engulf people with unconditional love of God, there surely will be change.
Mm.
Civility
Very
is
good.
having to step out in faith and birthing the kindness that is inside of us. It brings healing to broken hearts, it softens hardened hearts, and it warms the cockles of cold hearts to change their mindset and to alter their speech patterns. We have influence and we are delegated to be the hands, the feet, and the voice of God.
Mm.
And I want to say we can do this by introducing kingdom integrated notions for developing the nation to endeavoring solicitous and sympathetic citizens through knowledge, interests, notions, and designs necessary for essential successful stewardship.
Mm.
So I think if we go and do that, we definitely will see a change.
Amen. That is so beautiful. Professor Chris, did you have any questions for Professor Rose?
Yes, I've just been so excited watching you, Professor Rose, through as you've developed your philosophy of kindness, which is just phenomenal, and for you to be able to implement it in the school with young people. I'm really just fascinated to hear what your past year, what's it been like for you as you have continued to develop kindness in your community, in the schools, in your nation. What's it been like for you the past year? What kind of results have you been seeing?
Okay, I must say, this year was a bit of a challenge, but however, I managed to register the non-profit organization called the Rose Kindness Foundation. It is a safe haven for the abused, like Professor Michael mentioned, the homeless and unwed mothers, because it is a place they can go to feel safe. And the mission and the vision of the foundation is to leave a trail of kindness wherever we go. And in doing so, we will raise self esteem, bring back dignity, encourage, empower, and to rehabilitate people and send them into society as an expected life of where people will embrace them. And I must say, this year for me, we had a little boy at school who was diagnosed with leukemia 2 years ago. But in April this year, he became very, very ill and he needed a bone marrow transplant. And I became involved in that platform of having to find a bone marrow transplant for him. But
Wow.
unfortunately, we didn't find one in South Africa and they had to go abroad and they managed to find an international match, which obviously came at a very, very high price. And myself, together with the community, gathered together to do a massive fundraising drive. And I must say, even our school was involved, and we raised a substantial 10% of the money that was required for the surgery. And because I managed to get the helicopter to be part of the 2020 World Kindness Day, I got a hold of the gentleman, the pilot, to ask would he do a helicopter flip for us as a fundraiser and also to give the little boy a ride in a helicopter, which he didn't have. But unfortunately, that didn't materialize because a week later, the little boy passed away.
Okay.
So for me, that was very sad. But presently, I am offering the family support through their grief and will be providing counsel for them to get through their grief as well.
Wow.
And the future plans for this year, I must say, I had been writing my narrative for a while, and this is the first copy of the book that I've printed, which I have now with me. And under advisement from Your Highness a while ago, he did mention, why don't you create a curriculum? And the fruits of my labor, I've created 3 booklets. This is World Kindness Book of Civility for little ones, the grade ones. And then I've done book 2 for grade 2s.
Love it.
And I've got book 3 for grade 3.
Love it.
Wow.
So, and presently I'm going to get this booklet online as an ebook. And so that's what's kept me busy this year.
Wow.
And with my interaction with kids every day, I must say I have now found that problems of the world increases, and like I mentioned earlier, the lust of the flesh has overcome, and we find children with problems every single day. And a few years ago, I had done my thesis on biblical counseling. The title of my thesis was The Ripple Effects of Multiple Parenting. And I see that with Parents' Day. Multiple parenting brings forth kids who have no idea what they do and when they need to do it. And I'm now presently devising that as a practical biblical guide for both parents and children. And with the handbook, I plan to offer biblical counseling to them as well.
Wow.
So that's what I've been busy with this
My
year.
goodness.
Wow.
No.
Oh, Your Royal Highness, do you have anything?
Yeah. I have an actual comment. Dr. Rose has walked this example.
Yeah.
This is what I tell people. Never pay your way out of your education. There's some things you're supposed to walk through that God's ordained. and it gives you an education because of your experience.
Mhm.
Dr. Rose Reddy has walked these books into existence with her life.
Yes.
Hard times, difficult trials. She's learned, she's gathered the information. This is truly a, like Searcherdemic doctor. She's a pioneer. She isn't afraid to go where others dare to go. And this is, and I can tell you this, for over a decade. I'm not talking 2-3 years. Dr. Rose Reddy has been with us learning for over a decade, and her voice belongs on the world stage of the world. She is not just a voice for Africa or South. She's a voice for the world with evidence and results of a life lived. I don't have any questions. I have accolades and praise for what she's done. So, Dr. Reddy, we are humbled and honored to have a person like you impacting this world. You're an African impacting the world, and we need more people like you. Every time you come on stage, you're a professional. You give the right image of the continent, because that's who you are, and we are forever grateful. Thank you.
And you are creating a foundation for the little ones. And can you imagine, you're building blocks of civility? And then Professor Som comes with his leadership and life skills. Imagine the future people with this new education system.
Wow.
Imagine, let your mind just go there. And it's because of these people who took a passion that was already inside of them. Rose, from the day I met you, you've oozed kindness. And look, turned it into an education program, and it's growing and it's giving back to the world. And that's what Searcherdemics is all about. So thank you so much. I'm so excited, and I can't wait to see your new curriculum. That makes me excited.
And let's get this publication. Let's get us those books, and I want somebody to print a hard copy. Let's have one of our Psalms on here.
Yep,
we'll have Psalm do a book.
Yes,
This needs to
I've
be
been
a book
writing
for
that
the
down. I
world.
will get a hold of him.
Perfect. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Rose, for joining us.
Thank you.
Amazing.
Wow.
But now, man, come on, man. This is wow.
Do we
Vice
have
Chancellor Green? Are the Reverends here?
Yes, the Reverend, he's here.
Okay, I'm gonna let you introduce him, sir.
It is such an honor.
Glenn,
it is Dr.
wait.
Glendon Roeder.
Yeah.
He is a UGCSI Searcher Professor from Trinidad and Tobago, and he and his wife Alicia are the founders of the Human Equity Value Institute and Seminary, which they call HEVIS. And Professor Roeder is literally on the cutting edge of God's education. He is a man of profound biblical insight. He and his wife they also founded a ministry called Citywood Foundations, and recently launched the Apostolic Bible Society Online Institute, which he explains it exists to secure the biblical narrative for successive generations. But from the moment we first connected with Professor Roeder and his wife, we have just felt drawn to them in a very special way. This man is a serious, determined, dedicated, and devoted searcher of God and his word. And he leads a 5 a.m. prayer 5 days a week, and he's always speaking and sharing from the overflow. I call it from the overflow of the river of life that's springing out of him. He has a tremendous desire for people to be grounded in foundational biblical truth, but also equally powerful to see human equity value established in all of society. So Professor Roeder, he says this, I love this statement: wherever matters of diplomacy or human relations are taking place, human equity value is necessary. It's a philosophy that will change the game and change the status quo of human relations globally. So with that being said, please welcome Professor Glendon Roeder.
Chancellor Michael, may I add something?
Please add.
Ladies and gentlemen, you have no idea who this man is.
Yes.
Glendon, no, I have to come on, and I'm telling you, Trinidad, you don't know what you
What we
have.
got. Yes.
Caribbean, you don't know what you have in this man. Nations of the world, you don't know who you are. This man mentors me on things that I need help with. This man is a world leading voice. And when you hear him, you'll understand why. Now, we have to promote leaders like this
Yes.
because our generations don't have heroes that are doing right things like we are. So Glendon, we are grateful to have you as you're just a machine. Over to you, Chancellor Michael.
Thank you.
Yes. Oh, well, will you start off with telling us about the mission and vision of HEVIS, Human Equity Value Institute? What is this? What is human equity value? This is a new culture, a new language.
Yes.
Well, human equity value is the recognition and consideration, the protection and procurement of human value and their equity entitlement. But we made a little tweak. I made a little tweak to one of the tenets of human equity value, whereas we start with recognition, but we looked at consideration. The first one, recognition, we took the word apart, and instead of recognition only, we put cognition, because human equity value is a cognitive tool, and so we see us achieving recognition, and cognition means to bring the human conscience into awareness. And what we realize, before human equity value can really take root in society, there would be a need for recognition of the human conscience. Because what happened is human equity value, modern education, what education does, it informs the intellectual. And we have been informing the intellectual for years without informing the conscious, the human conscience. And so we have a lot of people in the marketplace. We have a lot of people in churches. We have a lot of people in businesses. They know the bookwork, but they don't have a conscience. They don't have a moral, civil sense of life. And so what human equity value seeks to do is to recognate, is to bring a recognition of human value back into society. So we realize the first thing we have to do is bring a revolution of recognition. Then we'll be able to recognize human value.
My God, this is the reason why. This is the reason why the world needs what you just shared, because of the depth of understanding. You are one of those people who we can tell, we know you've been with God, because you don't answer a question like that unless the Holy Spirit has educated you and brought that to you. We so appreciate that from you, sir. And I just want to say this. I've been asking everyone this question today, but it's really, I believe it's just so important for everyone to hear this. Already you said there's been a tweak. And so what other ideas, developments, tweaks have you been discovering just over the past year with human equity value? What are some of the new things that are coming forth?
What we realize, and I'm presently developing, because we want to take the curriculum a bit higher. After doing 2 successful graduations and seeing how HEV has affected the students, and they're taking it, we have people already submitting their certificates on their jobs to add to their profiles. To add to their profiles like that. People submitting their certificates with their resumes for jobs and things like that.
Hold on.
Hold on.
That's amazing. Hold on for a second, because I really want people to hear this. You've graduated. You've had 2 graduations, and you're having your graduates take their certificates to their employment.
Yes. Yes.
That is mind-blowing, revolutionary.
Jesus.
Oh my goodness! You're just doing what you do, but for us to hear that,
Yeah.
that absolutely changes the game. Because now that you're saying we're taking what God has given us and we're invading our workspace with what God says about me.
Yeah.
That's the strategy, Dr. Chris. That's the strategy. If they take it and they are called in by their employees, the employees have no choice but to ask them, what is human equity value? They must ask that question. What is it? And they will begin to educate their workspace. And so what we are doing now, I am planning to get some of the students from both graduate classes and form a permanent voluntary team of human equity value practitioners, and to form this group. What I wanted to do was to train them first, and then create a team. Train them first, create the team, and that team will be responsible for things like what you call a press conference, when we have to do a press conference where we have to go on the media and preparing to do shows on social media, preparing to do shows and stuff like that. So it's getting them ready, getting them prepared. But what I've recognized, according to your, in answering your question, Dr. Green, I'm developing 2 more areas to add to the curriculum. You would have heard of one already: sustainable civility. Sustainable civility, because we see governments talking about sustainable energy, sustainable economy, sustainable everything, but nobody's talking about sustainable civility. How can we have sustainable economy if we don't have sustainable civility? And sustainable civility comes from the book of Exodus. Exodus, and God wanted to get these people out, the first thing he gave them was liberty. So the first thing that people must have is liberty. The second thing he gave to Israel was dignity. You cannot give people liberty if you're not prepared to give them dignity. This is what has happened to a lot of, especially African Americans, Latino people. We sort of give them some kind of liberty, but there's no dignity. And right there is the problem. There's a need for human equity value. Human equity value breaks down the race barriers, it breaks down the ethnic barriers, but it doesn't only break down the ethnic barriers, it recognizes the ethnic value. There is ethnic value.
My God.
And ethnicity, in the words of Dr. Rivers, ethnicity adds value. And that is what people are afraid to talk about now. Ethnicity adds value. And so when these ethnic components come, we must recognize their human value and give them the equity entitlement that they deserve. So we are doing that. So that's dignity. And the third thing that God gave to Israel was policy. That's in the 10 Commandments. He gave them policy. So liberty, dignity, policy. Then after policy, they were ready to go into their geography, the land. He gave them geography after. And geography is a very important part. And when they got in, the last thing he gave them was sovereignty. So they had sovereignty. These five components is what makes sustainable or civility sustainable. You know why we have a problem in the Mideast between Israel and Palestine? Because of these 5 things: liberty, dignity, policy, geography, and sovereignty. That is what is happening with Palestine and Israel right now. Israel's argument is geography. That's our land.
Yes.
And they are going as far back as to say the former Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, he made a speech at the United Nations and says, this is the land that God promised to our father Abraham. He said that at a United Nations meeting. He brought the Bible in. He brought the Bible in. So it's amazing to see. It's amazing to see that. And the next thing that we are developing is what I call HEVICON. HEVICON is HEVECON, HEVENCON, which is Human Equity Value Economy. And that is it. How to have a human equity value economy. So that's the tweaks. That's the two newest things that I'm developing right now.
And Glendon, Glendon, let me give you something that I think helps this equation. I was speaking with a gentleman a couple weeks ago, and the gentleman had a problem with a certain culture of people. See, and I said this. I said, well, if you really have a problem with that culture, give back every contribution that they made. This guy had a problem with the Chinese culture. And I said, well, if you really don't like the Chinese culture, give back everything they produce that you're using today.
There you go.
You wouldn't be able to drive your car. Wouldn't be able to. You would, so you don't really hate the people, because if you utilize their contribution, and I think there has to be an actual human equity value dialogue methodology. How do two humans that have value dialogue with equality looking at issues? And I think one of the things that, see, you have to always think in terms, everyone watching this, you have to think in terms of how you paint the narrative to the people you're speaking to. Many times good ideas are lost because they aren't articulated from the right standpoint. So now just imagine if you go speak on actually human equity value, and you're standing for a culture of people that bring a contribution. So the other people may hate the ones that are bringing a contribution. Why don't you show them, if you take away this contribution, what are you going to do? So now you have to show people human equity sustainability. Human equity sustainability is this individual that you may not like has made life sustainable for you. So I think adding this equation to it is a game changer, because let me tell you, people don't know what they don't know, and they don't think where their mind hasn't been expanded to. So we must, everyone watching this, all of our Searcherdemicians, all of our people, whenever you're bringing a presentation, bring to light what others haven't thought. That's my, you have, Glendon, you have a narrative for the whole world. Now you have to show institutions why they need it. You have to show what you have to show. You can show, and I'm sorry I'm going on, but I'm giving you, you have to create public safety policy around human equity value. You have to create workplace equity. You have to create all these things. And I want to tell you, the key to the whole thing is policy is based on reduction. We had human equity value in this school. Crime was reduced 10%. We've had human equity value in the actual workplace. Profits increased 20%, and absenteeism went down 40%. So you are on the policy side, you are looking at numbers. It's increase and decrease is what the policy room looks at. So if I were you, I would target a couple different industries this year. Bring your model of human equity value, work it, and actually look for specific narratives, so you can say, we actually started out with this here, and this is the outcome that we want. And as we spent 1 year here, your turnover rate of your employees was decreased 45%. What does that mean for your business?
Yeah.
I'm giving you guys wisdom here.
Yes.
You may have the greatest idea, but if you can't show the industry you're walking in what the benefit it is, what it's going to reduce or what it's going to increase, you'll never get in with great ideas, because business works off money. Business works off of less things to hinder profits. Boom. Education works off, are the scores going higher or lower? Medical works off, is this practice happening? Is it not? So you have to be wise to know how to gauge these institutions, and you create you actually create the actual strategic design that you're creating for them, and get the data of how human equity value changes the game.
Yeah.
I-
Yeah.
So
Powerful.
I'm just blown away just by listening to you today. This has been just, it is amazing when a God
Jesus.
idea is dropped into a man's heart like you, and you express it,
God.
and it is absolutely changes the entire. I remember when you first said this. That's how far back we go with this. Is we remember when you said this is a game changer, and we remember the moment when it dawned upon you the greatness of what God had actually given to you. So
Yes.
we just want to say, we are so very proud of you.
Jesus.
We're absolutely behind you and standing with you, because this is the kind of talk that changes nations.
The walk. Hey,
I mean,
this is the kind of talk that changes the walk.
Yeah,
that changes everybody. I mean, and it can be embraced from everywhere, from a husband and wife raising their kids to understand the equity value in their children, all the way to, as His Royal Highness has said, all the way to the policies in our nation. So what God has given you is so universal. This will change the way we think of life itself. So thank you so much.
Yes, sir.
It's an honor. Thank you, Dr. Rutter. And we need to talk very, very, very soon.
Yeah.
I have lots of ideas here.
You've had an amazing year.
Definitely. Most definitely.
Dr. Rutter, what I want to do, we need to establish an ICN Dr. Rutter Human Equity Award.
Yes.
Yeah. So Dr. Michael, write that, please, Chancellor. So what we're going to do, I'm establishing Global Civility Day. It's going to be done in Las Vegas in conjunction with a week. Watch this here. I'm letting the cat out of the bag on UGCSI TV.
Yeah, this is everyone who's watching. Just know that you're getting a taste of what it's like to go through our training model. He's giving you nuggets today. This is what it is.
This is it.
Yeah. What I'm doing, I'm creating a civility week, and we're going to have different people come from different countries, and they're going to be adopted into a culture for a week. They're going to spend a week with a different culture. They're going to eat with the families. They're going to do this. They're going to see the culture. And then at the end, and then throughout the week, we're going to have different equations that are helping the world. And what I'm going to do, I'm going to launch the actual top awardees with an I Change Nations award in their name, so that any other country that has an individual doing this, Trinidad, say Kenya has an actual Glendon Rutter awardee. The DRC Congo has the human equity value, and the reason why I put it in names is because people hear this. People don't buy information. People buy people.
Yeah.
Dr. Rutter is human equity value.
Yes.
Chancellor Michael is Searcherdemics.
Yes.
Chris Green is. There's no work for Chris Green. That guy's unlimited. He is. So you are the walking embodiment of this. And policy is created by things like this. So So we need to establish this award and every year give it to 5 people on our global stage and have Glendon come and speak about it. Have Dr. Michael come and have all these different things. So wow, this is amazing stuff.
This is, and everyone who's watching, you just got to see a whole process from start to finish. You got to see the fruit of Searcherdemics and our speakers today. And if at the end, that feeling that you had, like Professor Rose said, that is fruit from what is being produced. There's hope in this with what Professor Glendon said. I'm so excited, and there's so many platforms he's going to jump off from here. We're creating a new culture. And as you heard Professor Rudder talk, he was creating new terminology, new language. And that is what we do here to wake up. We are building it, and we're building a new culture, right? Recognition.
And
changing it. Yes, go, Professor Rudder.
And Dr. Rivers, I got some good news. You appointed me, I think it's in 2019, special advisor to Israel. I'm going to be representing ICN at a Zoom meeting on the 5th of September with the Vice President of Internal Affairs of the International Christian Embassy for Jerusalem. And he is the International Affairs Vice President of the International Christian Embassy in Jerusalem. I'll be meeting with him on the 5th of September. So he'll be tuning in from Jerusalem at 7 o'clock, and I'll be at 12 p.m. in my country. So at that meeting, I'll be representing I Change Nations and the culture of honor and human equity value on September the 5th.
Wow. Love it.
My goodness.
That's awesome. How can people get a hold of you or learn more about this? They're interested. They're in a
call the Holy Spirit. Call God. God gets them to Glendon. Go ahead.
Well, it's easy. They can just look for Glendon J. Rudder on Facebook or Glendon J. Rudder. It's email glendonjrudder@gmail.com. But Facebook is the quickest place you can find anybody today, actually. So Glendon Rudder on that social media, that's where I'm at. And from there, we can link them back to the Human Equity Value Policy Now page. There's a Policy Now page, 200 and something members, 290 something members on that Human Equity Value Policy Now. So we can invite them there once they get in contact with me. So it's all good. So they can find me quickly there and on email.
Awesome. Wow. Thank you, Professor Rudder. We appreciate you.
My goodness.
Great work. I will be in contact.
Thank you very much.
Man, thank you all. Chris,
thank you, everyone, for being here. Yes, Your Highness, thank you. And if you want to learn more about Searcherdemics, just go to United Graduate College and Seminary International.com. Yes, spell it all out. United Graduate College and Seminary International.com, or Google Searcherdemics. It's not academics, it's Searcherdemics. Okay. And thank you so much for being here. First of all, Professor Chris Green, it is an honor to serve with you. You are a model of Searcherdemics. Yes. You're a model of it, and a professor of
poster child. Chris is the poster child, for Searcherdemics.
Yes.
God bless you.
Professor, you have all the titles. Clyde Rivers, we appreciate your time. It's an honor to have you with us and the energy that you bring. So have a fabulous day, evening, morning, everyone. God bless you. And remember, you are amazing. The information's already in you. We just highlight it and bring it out. God bless you.
God bless you.
Thank you.